nationwide COVID-19 vaccination dry run to be held in 736 districts across 33 states and union territories today. Union Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan visits Tamil Nadu to oversee the dry run for COVID-19 vaccination. Centre to hold the 8th round of talks with representatives of the farmers' unions in the national capital today. The government has repeatedly assured the farmers' leaders it is committed to addressing their issues. In the ongoing Kharif marketing season 2020-21, paddy procurement shows increase of 27.13% over the last year. Almost 68 lakh paddy farmers benefited from procurement operations with the MSP value of more than 98,400 crores. The JEE Advanced entrance test for 2021 to be held on the 3rd July this year. IIT Kharagpur will conduct the event. Union Education Minister announces relaxation in the eligibility criteria of 75% in Class 12 for IIT admissions this year. US President-elect Joe Biden announces his team for Department of Justice, including one Indian, Vanita Gupta. Facebook blocks US President Donald Trump's accounts for at least the next 2 weeks. Says the risk of allowing Trump to use the platform are simply too much. Donald Trump releases a tweet video, says his focus now on ensuring a smooth and orderly transfer of power, says it's time to cool the tempers after an intensely fought election. And second day of the third test match between India and Australia halted for some time due to rain. Australia looking towards a strong position. Hello and good morning. You're watching DD India with me, Nancy Kohli. A top story. The country is set to hold its second nationwide vaccination dry run for COVID-19 in 73 districts across 33 states and union territories today. Union Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan interacted with the health ministers of the states and the union territories to review the preparedness yesterday. The Union Health Secretary also wrote to Maharashtra, Kerala, Chhattisgarh and West Bengal to curb the recent spike in COVID cases, while India crossed another landmark in the fight against the virus, with the total cumulative recoveries going past the 1 crore mark.
State is all set to conduct a dry run on Friday across the country. Reaffirming on self-reliant India, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has expressed his happiness on the degree of confidence that India has attained with the approval of Covaxin and Covishield. PM also said this major development shows how India is moving swiftly towards building a self-reliant India amid the pandemic.
भारत ने कोरोना की 2 मेड इन इंडिया वैक्सीन भी स्वीकृत की है। भारत की अपनी वैक्सीन ने देशवासियों में नया आत्मविश्वास पैदा किया है। 2021 की शुरुआत के माहौल में आरंभ से ही भारत की ये तेजी आत्मनिर्भरता के लिए गति, ये सारी बातें देख करके, सुन करके कौन हिंदुस्तानी होगा, कौन मां भारती का लाल होगा, कौन मां भारत को प्रेम करने वाला व्यक्ति होगा जिसका माथा गर्व से ऊंचा न हो।
Before heading towards the massive dry run initiative, Union Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan held a meeting with health ministers of all states and union territories through video conferencing and reviewed the preparedness for the nationwide mock drill on the COVID vaccination. He urged for their keen overview and personal indulgence to lead the whole exercise.
1000 टेस्ट करते थे, वहां आज 1 मिलियन से ज़्यादा टेस्ट हम कर रहे हैं। सारे देश ने लगभग 17 करोड़ टेस्ट कर लिए हैं। तो हमारी वैक्सीन्स जो है उनको इमरजेंसी यूज़ ऑथराइजेशन मिल गया है और उन वैक्सीन्स को देश की, समाज के लोगों की कोविड से सुरक्षा के लिए उन वैक्सीन्स का इस्तेमाल करने की स्टेज के अंदर हम सब लोग आज आकर खड़े हो गए हैं। 33 यानी स्टेट्स में और यूनियन टेरिटरीज के अंदर ये हमारी जो ड्राई रन है ये हम करने वाले हैं.
Meanwhile, India has leaped across a significant milestone in its fight against COVID. Total cumulative recoveries have crossed 1 crore mark. India's recoveries are the highest in the world. The national recovery rate has further grown to 96.36%. With the expansion in the testing infrastructure, the positivity rate of India has also gone down. Daily positivity rate remains below 3%. DD India.
Union Minister for Health and Family Welfare Dr. Harshvardhan is in Tamil Nadu to oversee the dry run for COVID-19 vaccination today. The minister will personally review the preparedness and oversee the dry run operations at the scheduled sites. The health minister will visit the site of the sessions at the Government General Hospital, Chennai, followed by the one at the Government Omandurar Hospital in Chennai. The minister will also later visit the vaccination center at the Apollo Hospital, Chennai, after a brief visit to the General Medical Store Depot in Periyamidu. This is one of the 4 national vaccine storage facilities, the other 3 at Mumbai, Kolkata and Karnal. Thereafter, the minister will visit a vaccination center in neighbouring Chengalpattu in the afternoon. He'll also visit the Hindustan Biotech Limited campus at Chengalpattu as part of his engagements before leaving for Delhi on Saturday. And let's now move on, take a look at the COVID situation across the worst affected states of the country. Kerala has reported maximum number of new cases yesterday. 5,051 positive cases were reported yesterday. Besides that, 5,638 patients were discharged while 25 patients died in the past 24 hours. In Maharashtra, 3,729 new cases were registered yesterday. 3,350 patients were discharged while 72 patients died in the past 24 hours. In the national capital, Delhi, 486 new cases of infections were reported yesterday. 780 patients were cured and discharged while 19 patients died in the past 24 hours. Currently, there are 4,168 active cases in Delhi. Tamil Nadu continues to show progress in the daily COVID-19 case tally, with the number staying below the 900 mark. A total of 805 persons tested positive for the virus across the state yesterday. 12 deaths were reported while 911 patients were discharged in the past 24 hours. Moving on now, the 8th round of talks between the centre and the farmers will take place today. The government has said that there are crores of farmers in the country and the new farm laws have been made keeping in mind everyone's views. It is confident of resolving any outstanding issues left over from the meeting on the 4th of January. At the last meeting, based on the details shared by the farmers in the meeting held on 30th December, the 3 farm laws, the MSP procurement system were all discussed in detail. A consensus also emerged over the ordinance related to the stubble burning in the NCR and the Electricity Amendment Bill 2020. Now, in the ongoing Kharif marketing season 2020-21, the government continues to procure Kharif crops at the MSP from the farmers as per the existing MSP scheme. The centre has procured 521.4 lakh tons of paddy so far during this Kharif marketing season from nearly 68 lakh farmers at the MSP costing 98,457 crore rupees. The paddy procurement has reached 521 lakh tons till 6th of January. That's up 27.13% from the year-ago period. Now, the Kharif marketing season starts from October. About 67.8 lakh farmers have already benefited from the ongoing procurement operations with an MSP value of 98,456 crore rupees. Out of the total purchase of 521.4 lakh tons, Punjab has contributed around 202 lakh tons. Moving on now, the Union Education Minister Ramesh Pokhriyal Nishank has announced the JEE Advanced 2021 examination dates. It is scheduled to take place on 3rd July. Now, this year the exams will be conducted by IIT Kharagpur. The minister also announced that due to COVID-19, the 75% minimum marks eligibility criteria will remain scrapped. The decision has been taken to lessen the stress on the students amid the pandemic.
आईआईटी में जो प्रवेश हेतु जेईई एडवांस की परीक्षा पात्रता के लिए जो 75% का मानदंड था उसे हमने इस समय भी हटा दिया है ताकि आपको ये सुविधा मिल सके और प्रतिभाशाली छात्र छात्राएं वो जेईई एडवांस की परीक्षाओं में बैठ सकें और सफल हो सकें। 3 जुलाई 2021 को इसकी तिथि भी सुनिश्चित की गई है। आपके पास पूरा वक्त है, बहुत अच्छे तरीके से आप तैयारी कर सकते हैं।
Moving on now, the Income Tax Department has conducted a survey at the Flipkart group company, Instacart and Swiggy in connection with an alleged bogus input tax credit to an external vendor. In a statement, Flipkart had said that they have provided all the required information and extended full cooperation to the department officials. It added that they are in full compliance with all the applicable tax and legal requirements. The IT department also conducted checks on Swiggy records on financial transactions. Last week, the Finance Secretary had said that to minimize the misuse of the system, the government has kept a check on those persons who were claiming excess input tax credit. Now, the Chief of the Air Staff, Air Chief Marshal R.K.S. Bhadodia undertook a visit to the Air Force stations and the advanced landing grounds in the Eastern Air Command area of responsibility from 5th to the 7th of January. During the visit, he interacted with the senior Air Force and the Army commanders and reviewed the operational preparedness of the units deployed at these locations. He also visited Itanagar to call on the Governor and the Chief Minister of Arunachal Pradesh. Besides sharing key focus areas on furthering the Indian Air Force's ongoing transformation with the air warriors, he also flew with the aircraft from the transport and helicopter fleets that operate extensively in Sikkim and the northeast sectors. He lauded their stellar contribution in accomplishing all the operational as well as humanitarian assistance tasks successfully while operating in a difficult terrain and an extremely challenging operational environment. He also conveyed his satisfaction in the manner stations and units maintained their combat potential throughout the year gone by, despite stringent COVID-19 protocols. The National Statistics Office has released the first advanced estimates of the GDP for the year 2020-21. The movement of various high-frequency indicators in recent months point towards the broad-based nature of resurgence of economic activity. The Indian economy is projected to contract at 7.7% in the financial year 21 against 4.2% growth in financial year 2020. Now, agriculture and electricity, gas, water supply services remain bright spots during the pandemic year. Trade, hotels, transport, communication sector was impacted the most due to COVID-19. Now, manufacturing, mining and construction sector is projected to shrink by between 9 to 13%. And the major international updates now. The US President-elect Joe Biden has announced his team for Department of Justice. He's nominated Indian-American Vanita Gupta to be the Associate Attorney General and roped-in Judge Merrick Garland for the position of Attorney General. Following the announcement, Biden said that his first-rate nominees to lead the Justice Department are eminently qualified, embody character and judgment that's beyond reproach, and have devoted their careers to serving the American people with honor and integrity. He added they will restore the independence of the department so it serves the interest of the people, not a presidency, rebuild the public trust in the rule of law, and work tirelessly to ensure a more fair and equitable justice system. And the social media and networking site Facebook has blocked US President Donald Trump's accounts for at least the next 2 weeks. Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg stated that the risks of allowing Trump to use the platform are simply too great. The block by the Facebook is joined by live streaming platform Twitch and photo sharing service Snapchat, which is the most significant sanction of the president by any major social media companies. Zuckerberg said the 24-hour ban announced yesterday has been extended, seeing Trump's use of the platform to incite violent insurrection. He also said the block would also apply to Facebook-owned Instagram. Twitter and Snap had also temporarily locked Trump's accounts yesterday. Although the civil rights groups, including the Anti-Defamation League and the Color of Change, have called for social media companies to suspend Trump's accounts permanently. The Facebook block announcement comes day after the outgoing U.S. leader was locked out of all the major social media platforms due to his false claims about legitimacy and the loss to President-elect Joe Biden and for inciting the angry mob that stormed the U.S. Capitol. Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump has for the first time publicly hinted at demitting office. In a Twitter video, he said that his focus now is on ensuring a smooth and orderly transition of power. A day after the Capitol Hill violence, the president said that he's outraged by the lawlessness. He also said there is a need to cool the tempers after an intensely fought elections and called for a new election law.
Like all Americans, I am outraged by the violence, lawlessness, and mayhem. America is and must always be a nation of law and order. We have just been through an intense election and emotions are high. But now tempers must be cooled and calm restored. My focus now turns to ensuring a smooth, orderly, and seamless transition of power.
Now, reacting on the violence, the U.S. President-elect Joe Biden said that President Trump fomented Wednesday's violence at the U.S. Capitol, calling it one of the darkest days in the history of the country and an assault on democracy. Biden also called the Trump supporters who forced their way into the Capitol building domestic terrorists. Now, U.S. Transportation Secretary Chao has resigned, citing the violent storming of the U.S. Capitol by the supporters of U.S. President Donald Trump on Wednesday. She's become the first cabinet secretary to step down in the aftermath of the riots unfolded in the Capitol, calling the fierce and dramatic events as deeply troubled. Many low-level administration officials have announced they would resign, including several White House aides. And moving on to some other news from around the world, Bangladesh has asked Pakistan to offer an official apology for the genocide committed against people of the country during the Bangladesh Liberation War of 1971. Bangladesh has told Pakistan that the apology, along with completing the repatriation of the Pakistanis stranded in Bangladesh and settling the issue of the division of assets, was important for resolving the outstanding bilateral issues with Pakistan. Bangladesh also urged Pakistan to grant access to more Bangladeshi products under the SAFTA provisions and to relax the negative list and other trade barriers. Moving on now, taking a look at all the updates on COVID-19 from across the world. As of now, more than 8 crore 84 lakh COVID-19 cases have been reported worldwide, with over 19 lakh 4,000 deaths. Over 6 crore 35 lakh people have also recovered from the virus. The US continues to remain the worst hit country by the pandemic so far and has crossed the 2 crore mark. The US has reported over 2 crore 18 lakh cases of the virus, with the death toll surging past 3 lakh 73,000. Now, Brazil follows the US in terms of death toll, as it has now crossed the 2 lakh mark. And moving on now, the French Prime Minister has announced that France will be keeping its restaurants, cinemas and ski resorts closed amid its COVID-19 vaccination rollout, because COVID-19 is still spreading rapidly and hospitals remain under severe pressure. He said that restaurants would remain shuttered until at least mid-February and ski resorts might not open before the February holidays. A night curfew would be extended until at least 28 January and further national restrictions would not be ruled out. He said restaurants would remain shuttered until mid-February at the earliest. France has over 27,000 COVID-19 cases with more than 66,000 deaths. And Colombia has imposed a strict quarantine and issued a red alert in its capital, Bogota, in wake of soaring COVID-19 cases and suspicion of the new variant of the virus. Tougher measures were already being announced in the neighboring areas of Bogota, and the mayor of Bogota, Claudia Lopez, said that night curfew will be enforced till 4 o'clock of Tuesday morning. The non-essential shops and the businesses will be closed, and one person per household will be allowed to buy food or medicine. The night curfews will then run until 17th January. The country has reported over 17,37,000 cases of the virus, while over 45,000 lives have been lost in Ghana owing to COVID-19. Now, Japanese Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga on Thursday declared a state of emergency in the Tokyo metropolitan area, which also included the Saitama, Chiba and the Kanagawa prefectures, authorizing tougher measures to fight a recent COVID-19 resurgence. The state of emergency will come into effect on Friday until 7th February. So the gymnasiums, department stores and entertainment facilities will also be subject to shorter operational hours. As the government has set the goal of reducing the number of people in the office by 70%, it has also urged companies to have employees work from home or stagger their shifts. Meanwhile, events will be capped at 5,000 people or 50% of the venue capacity. The new emergency declaration comes as Tokyo reported a record 2,447 new daily COVID-19 infections on Thursday. That's far eclipsing the previous record of 1,591 cases. Japan has over 2,58,000 COVID-19 cases, with the death toll surging past 3,000. And moving on now to news from back home, the Sports Minister Kiren Rijiju inaugurated a residential hotel in the premises of Dr. Karni Singh shooting range. It will be a 162-bedded air-conditioned hostel with attached washroom facility. There will also be an air-conditioned dining area and the facilities for a specific diet and a separate recreation area for boys and girls. The facility has been created at a cost of 12 crore rupees.
For any sports academy, you must have the facility for accommodation, for hostel. Without that, any sports academy is not complete. Because some of the players, some of the selected players for the national camp, they have to stay in hostel. If a player commutes from a distance, it has a bearing on the performance. So by fulfilling the construction of the boys and girls hostel, I think we have added a new dimension to this Karni Singh sports shooting range, and this will really benefit our shooters.
The IPL Governing Council has decided that the 8 franchises will be allowed to submit the names of the retained players by 21st of January, and the trading window for the franchises closes on 4th February. The 8 IPL teams will enjoy a player's purse of 85 crore rupees, and there will be no increase of purse for the 2021 auction. Now in Sydney Test Day 2, Ravindra Jadeja picked up 2 wickets for India as he dismissed Marshal for 91 to break the century stand between him and Steve Smith, and then Matthew Wade after the rain interval. However, Smith looks in the fine nick, having hit a 31st Test 50. Smith and Marshal had given Australia a solid start before the first rain break. Australia were playing for 249 at the loss of 5 wickets when last reports came in. And with that, it's a wrap on this newscast. But before we go, a look at the headlines. Second nationwide COVID-19 vaccination dry run to be held in 736 districts across 33 states and union territories today. The Union Health Minister Dr. Vardhan visits Tamil Nadu to oversee the dry run for COVID-19 vaccination. Centre to hold the 8th round of talks with the representatives of the farmers' unions in the national capital today. The government has repeatedly assured the farmers' leaders it is committed to addressing their issues. In the ongoing Kharif marketing season 2020-21, the paddy procurement shows increase of 27.13% over the last year. Almost 68 lakh paddy farmers have benefited from the procurement operations with the MSP value of more than 98,400 crores. The Joint Entrance Examination Advanced Entrance Test for 2021 to take place on 3rd July this year. IIT Kharagpur will conduct the exam. The Union Education Minister announces relaxation in the eligibility criteria of 75% in Class 12 for IIT admissions this year. US President-elect Joe Biden announces his team for the Department of Justice, including an Indian Vanita Gupta. Facebook blocks US President Trump's accounts for at least the next 2 weeks. Says the risk of allowing Trump to use the platform are simply too much. Donald Trump releases a tweet video, says his focus now on ensuring a smooth and orderly transfer of power, says it's time to cool the tempers after an intensely fought election. Second day of the third test match between India and Australia halted for some time due to rain. Australia looking towards a strong position. That's all in this newscast. Thanks for being with us.